The Girl with the Red Crayon. When Eli was 5 years old, he met the girl who would unknowingly hold his heart for the next 2 decades. Her name was Maya Collins, and she marched straight up to him on the first day of kindergarten, with pigtails bouncing, freckles scattered across her cheeks like constellations, and fury burning in her brown eyes. "You stole my red crayon." Eli blinked at her, confused. "No, I didn't." Maya crossed her arms confidently, the way only children who believe the world revolves around them can do. "Well, mine is missing, and you're coloring a dinosaur, and dinosaurs are green. Why would you need red?" He stared at his paper. True enough, he hadn't even used the red one. He pushed the crayon toward her. "I didn't take yours, but you can have mine." Something in her softened instantly. She picked it up, studied him, and then declared, "Okay, you're nice. You can sit next to me." And just like that, their lives intertwined. Kids don't think too deeply about destiny or soulmates or the gravity of the people they meet. But in that small classroom with glue sticks and alphabet posters and crayons rolling everywhere, Eli's entire future changed. He just didn't know it yet. Growing up together, they lived across the street from each other. Their parents became friends. Their houses became second homes. Their lives became stitched together through small moments, running through sprinklers, learning to ride bikes, sharing snacks in secret fortresses made of blankets, sleepovers on living room floors, birthday parties with matching paper crowns. By the time they were 8, they had a routine so natural it felt like breathing. Maya would knock on his door every morning, never using the doorbell, 3 sharp taps that always sounded the same. Eli would grab his backpack, run outside, and they'd walk to school together, sometimes talking, sometimes just enjoying the silence only kids can share without awkwardness. At 9, they argued for the first time. Maya accused him of cheating during Monopoly. He accused her of hiding money under the board. She cried. He panicked. He brought her a cookie to apologize. She forgave him instantly. That was their pattern. Storms and sunshine all at once. And then, when they were 10, they made the pact. It wasn't meant to be serious. It wasn't meant to be prophetic. But it would shape everything. They sat beneath the huge oak tree behind Maya's house after school, the autumn leaves forming a carpet around them. "Everyone is so dramatic," Maya complained. "Did you hear Ellie and Thomas say they're gonna get married someday?" Eli snorted. "Gross." "Right. And then I thought, what if I never get married? My mom says I'm picky." "You're 10. My mom says it started young." Eli rolled his eyes, but she continued. "So I think we should make a deal," Maya said. "If we're not married by 30, we marry each other." His heart skipped, a strange little flutter he didn't understand yet. But he shrugged casually. "Sure." "Pinky, promise." He hooked his pinky with hers. "Forever," she said. "Forever," he echoed. He didn't know it then, but that simple promise would become the most important sentence he'd ever spoken. The complicated years. Middle school arrived like a hurricane. Suddenly, people cared about clothes, popularity, who liked who, and who wasn't cool. Eli stayed mostly invisible, quiet, thoughtful. The kid teachers loved because he always had a book in his hand. Maya, on the other hand, became sunshine. People gravitated to her warmth. Her laugh echoed in hallways. Her confidence grew. But she always came back to Eli. Always. She'd drop next to him at lunch, talking animatedly about her day while he listened, smiling softly, storing her words like treasures. But something changed when they hit 13. Maya started getting attention. "Do you think Anthony likes me?" she asked one afternoon. Eli shrugged. "Maybe. He keeps poking me and stealing my pencils." "That means he definitely likes you." She groaned dramatically. "Ugh, boys are weird." Eli wanted to say, "I'm a boy and I think you're perfect." But he didn't. He kept quiet. That year, she dated someone for 2 weeks, a middle school eternity. When they broke up, she cried. Eli biked to her house in the rain, sat with her on the porch, and let her cry into his shoulder. "You're the only boy who's never hurt me," she whispered. He swallowed hard. "Never will." But she didn't understand the weight in his voice. Not yet. High school heartbreaks. High school magnified everything, the pressures, the expectations, the emotions. Maya grew into herself beautifully. Her freckles faded, but her smile remained the same, the one that curved a little higher on the left, the one that always made Eli's chest ache. Eli grew too, taller, quieter, kinder. Some girls liked him for his calmness, but he never let anything flourish. Because none of them were Maya. People teased them constantly. "You guys are basically dating. Just make it official already. Come on, Eli, ask her out." Maya would laugh it off. Hug him teasingly. Say, "No way, he's like my brother." Every time she said that, Eli felt something inside him crumble. Brother. The one word he wished he could erase from her vocabulary. He never corrected her. He never admitted how much it hurt. She started dating more seriously. Football players, student council boys, the charming senior she fell for too hard. Each time her heart broke, she ended up at Eli's house, sitting on his bed, crying into his hoodie. "Why do I fall for idiots?" He'd hand her tissues. "Because you have a big heart." Then why doesn't the right guy ever show up? He looked at her, really looked, at the girl he loved with every unspoken word he couldn't say. "He's here," he whispered in his mind, "right here." But out loud he said, "You'll find him." She sighed. "I hope he's a little like you." He smiled sadly, and she never noticed. The goodbye. The night before college, they sat on the hood of Eli's car, watching the stars. Maya was leaving for a big university in another state. Eli had gotten a scholarship to a school much closer. She leaned her head on his shoulder. "Promise me something," she said softly. "Anything. Promise we won't drift apart." His chest tightened. "I promise." But life doesn't care about promises. The first semester they texted daily, funny stories, pictures, random thoughts. Second semester the messages came slower. Assignments, parties, new friends, exhaustion. By sophomore year everything had changed. They still cared. But they weren't part of each other's daily lives anymore. She visited home less often. He got busier with internships. Still, every time she came back, they'd greet each other with that same childhood familiarity, the kind that makes time feel irrelevant. But something happened one winter night when they were 22. They sat in his car again, like old times, snowflakes melting on the windshield. "Do you ever think about the future?" Maya asked. "All the time. What do you think it looks like?" He hesitated. "With you," he wanted to say. "Always with you." But he answered carefully. "I think we'll figure it out." She nodded slowly, looking out the window. "People change," she whispered, almost to herself. "Some things don't," he replied. She turned toward him quickly, too quickly, and her eyes softened in a way he couldn't decode. And then her phone buzzed, a text from a guy he didn't know. She looked away, and whatever moment they were about to share dissolved into winter air. The engagement she got engaged at 26. The announcement hit Eli like a punch he pretended not to feel. She invited him to the engagement party, smiling brightly, hugging him tightly, introducing him to her fiancé, a man named Aaron who was polished, confident, successful. Everything Eli wasn't. During the toast, Maya said, "To everyone who's been part of my life, especially Eli, who's been with me since I had pigtails and lost crayons." People laughed. Eli smiled. Inside, he shattered gently. That night, alone in his apartment, something inside him broke open. For the first time in 20 years, he allowed himself to think the unthinkable. He might lose her forever. So he wrote her a letter. Not to give her, not to change anything, just to finally release the truth he had swallowed for 2 decades. It said everything. How she was the best part of his childhood, how he'd loved her silently since they were 15, how every guy she dated felt like another loss, how the pact at 10 had never been a joke to him, how he wanted her to be happy. Even if it wasn't with him, he folded the letter and planned to burn it. But fate had other ideas. The accident. 2 weeks later, he attended a family gathering at her house. Her mother saw the envelope sticking out of his jacket pocket while helping him carry boxes inside. "Oh, this must be for Maya," she said, placing it with the pile of gifts. Eli's blood ran cold. "Mrs. Collins, wait, it's not." Too late. That night, Maya opened the letter. She didn't call. She didn't text. She didn't say a word. For 2 months, 2 unbearably long months. The call. He was cleaning his apartment when his phone buzzed. Her name lit up the screen. His heart stopped. He answered on the first ring. "Hi," Maya whispered. Her voice was fragile, trembling. "Maya, I'm sorry I disappeared." "You don't have to apologize." A shaky breath. "I ended the engagement." Eli sat down slowly. "What? Why?" "Because I realized something when I read your letter." He couldn't breathe. "I've spent my whole life choosing the wrong people," she said. "I kept waiting for something that felt like home. Someone who understood me. Someone who saw me." Another breath. "And he was right across the street my whole life." Silence, the kind that wraps around you, gentle and devastating. "Maya," he whispered. "I love you, Eli." He closed his eyes. "I've loved you my whole life." The oak tree. They met the next morning beneath the old oak tree, the same one where they made their childhood pact. She walked toward him slowly, eyes glassy, breath trembling. "You waited for me," she said. "All this time. How could you wait that long?" He smiled softly. "Because it was you." Her tears spilled then, and she stepped into him, burying herself in his arms. "This feels like a dream," she whispered. "It's real," he said. "It's always been real." They kissed, a soft, trembling kiss filled with 20 years of unsaid words. When they pulled back, she laughed through tears. "We're not 30 yet," she said. "True. So, are we breaking the pact early?" He took her hands. "No," he said. "We're fulfilling it early." Becoming us. Their relationship wasn't perfect. They had to unlearn years of assumptions, habits, and fear. They had to learn how to be lovers after being friends forever. They argued. They healed. They rediscovered each other in ways neither expected. Maya confessed she had loved him in quiet ways too. Ways she buried because she feared losing him if he didn't feel the same. Eli confessed he almost dated others just to forget her, but it never worked. They laughed about their childhood. They cried about the years they lost. They grew together, slowly, beautifully. The wedding. A year later, they married beneath the oak tree. It was small and intimate. Fairy lights wrapped around branches, soft music drifting in the warm evening air. When Maya walked down the aisle, Eli cried openly. Her vows were simple. "You were my first friend, my safest place, my favorite person." "I don't know what I did in this life to deserve growing up across the street from my soulmate, but I'm grateful every day that I did." Eli took her hands, voice breaking. "You're everything I never had the courage to ask for. You turned my childhood into magic, my adulthood into hope, and my future into something I can't wait to live." They kissed under the tree that raised them. The crowd cheered. Their mothers sobbed. And somewhere between the echoes of laughter and the twinkle of lights, two children who once pinky swore under falling leaves finally found their forever. The twist. At the reception, Maya grabbed the microphone. "For everyone asking how we fell in love," she said, smiling at Eli, "here's your answer." She held up a crayon, worn, faded, but unmistakably red. Gasps and laughter filled the room. "He gave me his red crayon when mine went missing in kindergarten," she said. "That was the moment I knew he was special." Eli walked up behind her, wrapping his arms around her. "And 20 years later," Maya continued, "I finally realized he was the love of my life." People cried. People cheered. People believed in love a little more that day. Because some stories aren't just stories. Some are lifetimes. Some are home. Some are the kind of love that survives everything. Distance, years, heartbreak, silence, time. And some love stories are simply meant to be. Forever, after all. The start of forever. Being married didn't change how they loved. It simply deepened it. Eli and Maya settled into a small house with a blue door and a crooked mailbox they never bothered fixing. The neighbors quickly learned that the couple who laughed in the driveway at midnight or danced barefoot in the kitchen while pasta boiled over were impossible not to love. Their marriage wasn't perfect. No one's is, but it was honest, soft, patient. Eli liked quiet mornings, coffee, newspapers, the world still waking up. Maya liked noisy mornings, music, pancakes, warm sunlight through curtains. But somehow they learned to love mornings together. Every night before falling asleep, they whispered the same ritual. "Still with me?" Maya asked. "Always," he replied. And for a while life felt like an endless stretch of warm Sundays. The first heartbreak. Their first big challenge came a year into marriage. Maya sat on the bathroom floor holding a pregnancy test with shaking hands. Positive. She cried, not out of fear, but joy. Eli lifted her up, spun her around, crying too. They painted a room yellow. They bought tiny clothes. They dreamed. But dreams sometimes end too soon. One night, Maya woke with sharp pain. Hours later, in a white hospital room, a doctor whispered words no parent ever wants to hear. "I'm so sorry." Maya fell apart. Eli held her through her sobs, swallowing his own heartbreak to give her strength. But at night, when she finally slept, he'd walk into the unfinished nursery and cry silently against the crib railing. For months, the house felt different, quieter, wounded. One evening, Maya sat in the doorway of the empty room, whispering, "I failed." Eli knelt beside her. "No," he said, taking her hands. "You are the bravest, strongest person I know. We lost something, but we didn't lose each other." She fell into his arms, and slowly, painfully, they healed. A miracle in the making. A year later, on a rainy Tuesday, Maya stood in front of Eli holding another test. Positive again. She didn't smile at first. She was scared, terrified. Eli took her hands gently. "Whatever happens," he whispered, "we face it together." This pregnancy was different. Every heartbeat on the ultrasound made Maya cry with relief. Every doctor visit felt like climbing a mountain. When she reached 8 months, Eli slept lightly, waking at any sound, terrified of something going wrong again. Then one calm September morning, she went into labor. 14 painful hours later, Maya heard the first cry. A baby girl. Eli broke down completely. Maya held their daughter close, whispering, "Welcome home, little one." They named her Layla, because Maya said her name should sound like a lullaby. That night, Eli watched Maya sleeping with Layla on her chest and thought, "If this is the only miracle I ever have, it's enough the years that follow." Layla grew into every part of their world. She inherited Eli's calmness and Maya's unstoppable spirit. Every time she laughed, Eli swore it sounded like Maya at age 10. Maya took pictures of everything: first steps, first words, first tantrum over the wrong color cup. Eli read Layla bedtime stories every night until she was 8, and finally insisted she could read on her own. She still asked him to stay in the room until she fell asleep. "Just 5 more minutes, Dad," she'd whisper. "Okay," he'd say. He always stayed longer. Family life wasn't always easy. They argued about screen time, school choices, messy rooms. They juggled work, bills, exhaustion. But they never lost each other. On their 10-year anniversary, Maya surprised Eli with a framed photo, the oak tree where everything began. On the back she wrote, "Thank you for finding me every time." When things change, as Layla became a teenager, life accelerated. Eli found a few gray hairs. Maya pretended not to notice wrinkles at the corners of her eyes. They both learned that raising a teenager was a mix of pride, fear, and wanting to wrap her in bubble wrap. Layla became fiercely independent, sometimes too independent. She slammed doors, ignored advice, rolled her eyes, but she also hugged them unexpectedly, thanked them for the small things, and loved them with a tenderness she tried hard to hide. At 17, Layla left for college. Maya cried for a week. Eli pretended he didn't cry, but Maya caught him wiping tears off his pillow one night. "Still with me," she whispered, "always." But their house felt empty again. The slow years with Layla gone, Eli and Maya rediscovered each other. They traveled, small weekend trips to places they always meant to visit. Maya took up gardening. Eli took up painting. They cooked together, read together, sat on porches during sunsets. They learned that love at 50 felt different than love at 25, quieter but deeper. Then one day everything shifted. Maya's doctor called. She had to come in. There were abnormalities, more tests, more waiting. And finally, a diagnosis no one wants. A slow, persistent illness, treatable but not curable. Maya cried in Eli's arms, terrified. Eli held her tighter than he ever had. "We will fight," he whispered. "We always fight." The last season, in the years that followed, Maya grew weaker. Some days she was full of energy and laughter. Other days she could barely stand. Eli became her caretaker, with patience, devotion, and love that never once wavered. He cooked her meals, braided her hair when she couldn't lift her arms, read her books in bed like he once read to Layla. Sometimes he'd wake up and watch her sleep, terrified of losing her. One afternoon, when her illness had progressed too far, Maya whispered, "I'm sorry." "For what?" Eli asked, tears already forming. "For leaving you first." He pressed his forehead to hers. "You're not leaving," he whispered. "You're just going ahead. I'll catch up." She smiled weakly. "You always do." The final goodbye. Maya passed on an early spring morning. The sun hadn't risen yet. Birds hadn't begun to sing. Eli sat beside her, holding her hand, whispering, "I'm here. I'm here." She opened her eyes one last time, looked at him the way she had since childhood, with complete trust. "Still with me," she whispered. He choked on a sob. "Always." And those were her final words, after the world felt unbearably quiet without her. Eli lived gently, the way she taught him, watering her garden, reading her favorite books, keeping her laughter alive in stories for Layla and future grandchildren. He visited her grave often. Sometimes he brought a red crayon. One day, many years later, when his steps had grown slow and his hair fully gray, he sat beneath the oak tree, the one that shaped their entire story. He closed his eyes, and for the first time in decades, he felt her voice, soft, warm, eternal. "Still with me?" He smiled. "Always." His breathing slowed. A final, peaceful exhale. Eli joined her. Two childhood friends who had loved across a lifetime finally reunited. The weight of a beautiful legacy. Layla grew up hearing a love story. Not a fairy tale, not a fantasy, but a real one, woven from childhood promises, heartbreak, healing, devotion, and a love that outlived life itself. She grew up watching the way Eli looked at Maya, the softness in his eyes, the reverence in his voice, the unspoken vow in every gesture. She knew, this is what real love looks like. You don't settle for less. But sometimes the weight of a beautiful legacy becomes a burden. Because when you grow up in a perfect love story, it becomes terrifying to accept anything less, and even more terrifying to believe you'll ever find anything equal. After the funeral, Layla was 23 when her mother died. She held Eli as he broke down, the strong father she'd never seen cry like that, and she whispered, "She's still here, Dad." But secretly, Layla felt a piece of her own heart collapse. For months, she lived in a fog. She smiled for her father. She answered friends' messages. She returned to her job. But she felt hollow. She felt the ache of missing the mother who taught her laughter, and the father who taught her love through example. Because after Maya died, Eli was never entirely the same. He laughed less, moved slower, held Layla tighter. And Layla felt responsible somehow, as if she needed to be strong for both of them. So she closed her heart. No dating, no romance, no attachments. People asked why. She answered softly, "No one will ever love me the way my parents loved each other." And so she stayed alone. The boy with the camera. That changed the day she met River Hale. She met him at the old park near the oak tree. The one her father visited often, the one she visited too, just to feel close to both her parents. River was kneeling in the grass, photographing a butterfly. Layla accidentally tripped over his backpack. He looked up, startled, then laughed lightly. "You okay?" he asked. Layla brushed grass from her jeans, embarrassed. "Yeah, sorry, I didn't see your bag." River grinned. "It's okay. I'm used to people tripping over my stuff. I never keep it contained." Layla smiled despite herself. He was soft-spoken, warm, a little chaotic, the type of person who looked at the world like it was full of tiny miracles. River noticed her staring at the oak tree. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he asked. Layla nodded. "It's where my parents fell in love." "That's incredible," he whispered. "Yeah," Layla said softly. "They loved each other their whole lives." River lifted his camera. "Can I take a picture of you under it? You look like someone with a story." Layla hesitated. But something, the gentleness of his voice, the kindness in his gaze, made her nod. He took the photo, lowered the camera slowly. "You have your mother's smile," he said softly. Though he hadn't known her mother at all, somehow he saw it. And something in Layla's heart shifted. Coffee, conversations, and cracks in the wall. They met again, and again, and again, sometimes by accident, sometimes not. River started sitting with her on the park bench where she read. Layla started bringing an extra muffin because he always forgot to eat breakfast. He started showing her photos he took, sunsets, children playing, old couples walking hand in hand. One afternoon, he showed her a picture of an elderly man pushing his wife in a wheelchair, both smiling. "Love like that," he said, "gives me hope." Layla whispered, "My parents had that." River smiled softly. "I can tell. You talk about them like they're still here. Sometimes they feel like they are." He nodded, understanding more than she expected. Slowly, River became something she feared, a reason to open her heart again. The fear of falling River invited her to an art exhibit. His photographs were being displayed. Layla agreed, but the night before the event, she panicked. What if River wanted more? What if she caught feelings? What if she lost him one day the way she lost her mother? She canceled. Last minute. River didn't get angry. He came to the oak tree the next day and found her sitting beneath it, arms wrapped around her knees. "I'm sorry," she said. "I don't know how to do this." River sat beside her quietly. "You're scared," he said gently. "It's okay. I'm scared of loving someone who might leave." He took her hand, not pulling, just holding. "I can't promise I won't leave someday. None of us get to promise that." He looked at her with heartbreaking tenderness. "But I can promise to stay for as long as I'm here." Tears filled Layla's eyes. "Love is always a risk," River said softly, "but so is hiding from it." Layla rested her head on his shoulder, and for the first time since losing her mother, she let someone in. The first kiss. It happened under the streetlights after a long walk home. River walked her to her door, running his fingers nervously over his camera strap. "Tonight was nice," he said. Layla smiled. "It was?" He leaned slightly closer, stopped himself, stepped back. "Sorry," he whispered. "I don't want to push." Layla took a breath, remembering her mother's words. "If you love someone, be brave enough to try." So she stepped forward, took River's face in her hands, and kissed him. Soft, slow, full of fear and hope all at once. When they pulled away, River whispered, "I've wanted to do that from the moment you tripped over my backpack." Layla laughed, a sound she hadn't made in a long time, and a new kind of light entered her life. The love that chose her. They didn't fall all at once. They fell slowly. River encouraged her dreams. Layla pushed him to publish his photography. He supported her through anxiety. She loved him through his insecurities. He met Eli, who was older now, softer, quieter, and Eli saw the way River looked at his daughter. He saw the same expression he once wore for Maya. Later that night, Eli told Layla, "He loves you the way your mother loved me." Layla cried, not because she was sad, but because for the first time in her life, she felt ready to live her own love story, not just the one she inherited. The proposal River didn't plan something extravagant. He didn't need to. He simply took Layla to the oak tree where her parents' story began, and where theirs had too. He knelt down, hands trembling. "I don't have the perfect plan," he said. "I don't have the perfect words, but I have a lifetime I want to spend proving how much I love you." Layla covered her mouth, tears spilling. "Will you marry me?" River whispered. She didn't hesitate. "Yes." He slipped the ring onto her shaking hand, and somewhere, in a place beyond life, Eli and Maya were smiling. The letters they left behind. On Layla's wedding day, Eli gave her a box. Inside were 2 envelopes, one from him, one from Maya. Maya's was dated years earlier, clearly written during one of her good days before her illness worsened. Layla opened it slowly. "My sweet Layla, if you're reading this, you found your forever. I've dreamed of this day since the moment you were born. Love bravely, my girl. Open your heart, even when it's scary. Let someone choose you the way your father chose me. Every day, without fail. I'm with you always." "Mom." Layla cried so hard she couldn't breathe. River held her. Her father held her too. Then she opened Eli's letter. "My little Layla, you are the brightest part of my life, and now I give you to someone who sees you the way I do. Love is a risk, but you were worth every risk your mother and I ever took. Go live. Go love. And remember, we are always with you. Dad." Layla hugged them both, River physically, her parents spiritually, and then the ceremony began. The wedding. It was simple, soft, intimate. Layla walked down the aisle wearing a small locket with a photo of Eli and Maya inside. River cried first. Layla teased him later. They exchanged vows beneath the oak tree. Layla promised courage. River promised tenderness. Their first kiss as husband and wife felt like a circle completing, a new love story blossoming from the roots of an old one. The beginning of her forever. Layla and River built a life full of road trip, adventures, lazy Sundays, shared dreams, late-night talks, morning coffees, and 1,000 quiet moments that felt like home years later. When River held their newborn daughter, a girl with soft brown hair and her grandfather's calm eyes, Layla whispered, "I want to name her Maya." River smiled, tears softening his features. "Then Maya it is." Layla kissed her baby's forehead. "Welcome to the world, Maya. You come from love. You are love, and you'll always be surrounded by it." Somewhere beyond the oak tree's swaying branches, Eli and Maya, the original love story, continued watching over everything they created. Final lines. Because in the end, love doesn't end. It transforms, it grows, it passes on. And Layla learned the most beautiful truth of all. When you grow up in a love story, you don't have to live in its shadow. You get to continue it.